Oh, I'm a villain, alright. Sonic X Shadow Generations is literally dropping a week from now, unless you pre-ordered the game and get to play it 3 days early. And instead of being controversial, I wanted to talk about the hidden symbolism of Sonic X Shadow Generations, and how this game marks a transitional period between the modern Boost titles and the new multimedia era Boost titles. That is a mouthful. What's this? Ethan's not making an opinion that shouldn't exist online? Impossible! But all jokes aside, the feedback and engagement on previous videos has been nothing short of an exhilarating experience, and it was really nice seeing all of your opinions. With that being said, why do I believe that Sonic X Shadow Generations marks a transitional period between the modern Boost titles and the new multimedia era Boost titles? To answer that question, we need to talk about Sonic Forces. But why do I talk about Sonic Forces? Well, like it or not, it technically was the last modern Boost title that we got until we would get the likes of Sonic Frontiers, to which I consider that to be the start of the new multimedia era games. Sonic Forces was a game that at the time was being glazed like crazy, mostly because we didn't know much about it. But as the weeks went by, we got more information about the game, a more serious tone, generation-style gameplay, a brand new engine. Classic Sonic? Oh no. So much hype was being generated around this game, and all we got was mid. Mid controls, mid-level design, a terrible story, pretty decent graphics actually, and the game ran well. It was just boring as hell. Mid. You make me sick. Dishonor on you. Dishonor on your cow. How is this the same Sonic from Sonic Mania? Anyways, I recently replayed Sonic Forces to get some footage of the game, and I feel conflicted. Look, as much as I regret getting it on the Switch of all things, it's not as bad as I remember it to be. If I skip all the cutscenes, turn off the dialogue, and shut off my brain, then yeah, it's a fine game. It's honestly kind of relaxing to play, and I don't have to stress so hard about trying to get an S rank, like if I were to play Rooftop Run or Eggman Land. Classic Sonic is still terrible. The set pieces are actually pretty good. Boosting like a maniac puts a small smile on my face, and Null Space is just... Okay, real quick, because we're talking about Sonic Forces, I want to talk about the argument that people bring up when they compare Shadow Generations to Sonic Forces. To me, Shadow Generations reminds me of Forces, but not in the way you think. Please hear me out. I made a comment recently on FS Productions' new video, and he mentions the comparison between Forces and Shadow Generations.
So, Kingdom Valley looks fantastic. Wide open level, so much to do, looks great. Can't wait to play it. I thought now, this is where the Forces argument ended, I'm pretty sure, right? People saw this level and was like, yeah, this is like a wide open level, so many alternate paths, so much stuff to do. There's no way anybody can make the Forces argument anymore, right?
And in response to that, I wrote this, and I quote, "So about the Forces argument, to me, whenever I said the game reminds me of Forces, I see it as a Sonic Forces 2, where it pretty much improves on everything that Forces sucked at, from level design to gameplay and story. If I compared Forces to Shadow Generations, I could see the comparisons and evolutions, but if I compared Shadow Generations to Sonic Generations, they look and play like completely separate games. The other best analogy I can give is Sonic Forces Overclocked and how it improved Forces. But yeah, I hope that makes sense as a person who says the game reminds me of Forces. It just looks like the Forces that we should have gotten versus the mid we received." And I quote, "When people say the game looks like Forces, most people assume they're saying the game is exactly like Forces. And to be fair, there are some people like that, and they're kind of flat out wrong, especially when they say these levels are linear and control bad. This game is anything but that. Shadow Generations has improved level design, improved controls, improved story. It's anything but Forces." Or is it? Coming back to my comment and adding more emphasis on it, to me when I say this reminds me of Forces, I'm saying this is the sequel to Sonic Forces that improves on everything that Forces set out to do. This is what we should have gotten all those years ago. When I'm comparing Sonic games, the biggest comparisons I can make is that Sonic Unleashed and Sonic Generations are very close to the same game. Let's call this section the Cinematic Boost games. Sonic Colors and Sonic Forces are closely the same game. Let's call this the Refined Boost games. If I were to throw Shadow Generations into which category I think it most strongly belongs in, I have to put it in the Refined category. But that's not a bad thing, because it expands and improves on what was. I really hope that's making sense. And no, I'm not going to sit here and say there aren't people who genuinely believe that this will be exactly like Forces, because, you know, those people exist. And to that, I say that's anything but the truth. I have a feeling that this game will be more substantial than Forces ever was. Heck, it's probably shaping up to be the best Sonic game of all time. So Ethan, I hear you asking, Why do you not want this game if you think it's good? Well, if you've seen any of my videos, you would know that Unleashed and Gens are my favorite iteration of the boost games. There is a clear distinction between the cinematic boost and refined boost gameplay styles. I already own Gens. Why would I want to buy the same game again with a side mode that I don't care about other than the story? To which I have to say, Dark Beginnings really made me interested in how the story of Shadow Generation is going to play out, so I'm very excited to see that. I realize how many categories I just word vomited, and I know it's a little bit confusing, but maybe some of you commenters can help break it down for me. While you're reading the comments, like and subscribe if you think my yapping sessions are interesting at best. But at the end of the day, those 4 titles to me represent the modern boost title era. And then we have Sonic Frontiers, the bizarre child of all the boost games. I love this game. Or do I just love its modding potential? During a call with Shaw of 10, who is actually someone who I consider to be a pretty good YouTube friend, brought up the point that when I was glazing Sonic Frontiers and how much I loved the game, he brought up the point that I was only really liking the game because of how I can mod it. And at first I wanted to rebuttal there, but was he wrong? I mean, I love Sonic Generations for its modding potential, but I still like baseline Generations. Minecraft is my favorite video game of all time, but I love modding it doesn't mean I still love Minecraft. It sounds like I'm getting off topic here, but I actually had to think long and hard about it after that call, and I guess I love what Sonic Frontiers is capable of giving more than what it actually is. The ability to roll on command, run through endless fields with smooth controls, jumping around with buttery smooth animations, and playing at an uncapped frame rate. Man, it's no wonder why I actually like Forces. My idea of a good level design is a blank field. Like, I'm not even kidding. This right here is just my ideal Sonic game. Through the power of mods, I turned Sonic Frontiers into a Sonic game that I love to replay. I kid you not. Sometimes I'll just boot up Frontiers and run endlessly around the map for a bit and clear my head. No restrictions, no goals, just endless running. The freedom I feel when playing Modern Frontiers is unlike anything I've ever experienced in a Sonic game. And maybe that's why I'm not excited. Maybe that's why I'm not excited for Sonic X Shadow Generations. I've crafted my ideal Sonic game through mods, and until they make a Sonic Frontiers 2, I don't think I'll ever find that experience like this elsewhere. And yes, I've read the comments. It's not fair to compare mods to actual dev work. That was wrong of me, but can you really blame me? When mods provide such an infinitely better experience of the current game you're playing, I'm telling you, I wouldn't have enjoyed Frontiers as much as I do now without the mods, and I'm forever grateful for the massive modding community at hand. But I'm not gonna sit here and say Vanilla Frontiers is terrible, because it really isn't. I even replayed Vanilla Frontiers, just running around, and yeah, it's anything but your traditional boost title. But the controls feel nice, the islands are beautiful. I'm feeling emotions right now. Fish. What makes Sonic Frontiers unique is its attempt on the open world style, and while yes, I play mostly modded, I can't sit around and say that base Frontiers is bad because it's not. I play with Tracker's physics though, because it just speeds up the combat and fixes the 2 biggest issues that I had with the physics. That being the drop dash is uncontrollable as hell, and the fact that when you stop boosting, you don't continue your momentum. And some have gone to say that it makes the platforming harder, and to that I say, skill issue. It's actually not as difficult as it seems, as you can just slow down, and also the stomp sending you straight down helps with the precision. On top of that, you don't go crazy fast like some other mods. But if you really wanted to get into the more nitty-gritty comparisons, let's compare Cyberspace stages to Sonic Forces. And already people will say Cyberspace is better because the level design is better, the implication of a spin dash and the power boost makes Cyberspace so much better now. It's easily superior, but to that I say, is it even fair to compare these games now? The modern boost titles had such a huge emphasis on high-speed reaction gameplay. Here, the Cyberspace levels feel more like high-speed exploration style gameplay that just have a boost attached to it. Well, it's not even a boost, it's just a glorified run button. And yes, I will say that playing through these levels with the spin dash is a bit more fun than the likes of Forces, but if we had to talk strictly about boost gameplay, I think I would rather play Forces. I don't know, flying halfway across the map in Cyberspace is fun and all, but it gets to a point where it's a bit much, and I'd rather just have fast reaction gameplay moments to it. Also, 2D Forces Solo's 2D Cyberspace. I don't want to hear it. And that right there is the big difference between the modern boost and the multimedia era boost. One focuses more on reaction style and the other is more exploration style, or exploration style being the combination of boost and adventure. And with the way you can spin dash off hills and go flying, it is pretty reminiscent of the classic Sonic adventure. I want to bring up a comment that really intrigued me, and that was the distinction of Sonic games. Most people say there were 3 playstyles: classic Sonic with the 2D momentum physics, though Rush is superior, fight me; Adventure Sonic, which is more 3D momentum based and has a lot of elements of exploration; and then modern Sonic, which focuses more on blazing as fast as you can through a level. The way the commenters sectioned the games was in 4 categories, ignoring classic Sonic: speed and movement-centric momentum games, so games like Sonic Utopia, GT, Encore, and Spark; platforming and movement-centric momentum games, so like the adventure games; speed and movement-centric boost games, which is like Unleashed, Generations, and I guess the storybook games, maybe? I don't know. And then platforming and gimmick-centric boost games like Colors, Lost World, Forces, Frontiers, Dream Teams, and now recently Shadow Generation. And to me, that's a very interesting way of organizing the boost titles. I don't know if you people agree with that list, but to me, I think it's the most confined way to organize the boost titles with the adventure-style games. It's crazy to me how much the boost formula has evolved over its predecessors. We started simple, went way too freaking high, landed on the moon, found the middle ground, went below bedrock, and found a weird hybrid, but now we have what looks like to be the most refined version of the boost formula. So after all that yapping, what is the hidden symbolism of Sonic X Shadow Generations? Well, if you haven't connected the dots, it's a battle between the past and the future. Reaction-based style boost games versus exploration style boost games. And Shadow Generations looks like it's going to be combining everything that once was. A fast-paced reaction game, a more explorative platformer, a much better cyberspace/forces. Sonic X Shadow Generations is defining a new era of boost titles, or whatever the heck they come up with. And while yes, I'll forever be a boomer and prefer the modern boost titles, I'll never not praise how well these new multimedia games are, and I think that's something worth celebrating. This will be my last video for a while until I either get the game myself or find something else to discuss. The road to Sonic X Shadow Generations has been an exhilarating one, and I can only hope that it lives up to people's expectations, that people who never got to experience Sonic Generations get to indulge in one of the most brilliant and near perfect Sonic games of all time, and to overall celebrate the good times that we're in. I'm so proud to be a Sonic fan, and I myself cannot wait to see the reception of this game, and to hear your opinions on it. So like and subscribe if you made it to the end of the video, and if you thought this video was good, perhaps you'll find my opinions on why I think the Sonic portion in Sonic X Shadow Generations deserves better. Stay safe, stay wholesome, and don't forget to always be creative.